Hell wasn't invented to punish the wicked. It was a processing facility. The idea of the wicked was a software update added centuries later. Let me explain. You die. You wake up. You expect a demon with a pitchfork or an angel playing a harp. You expect a courtroom where your deeds are weighed. But the oldest civilizations didn't build courtrooms for the dead. They built DMVs. The earliest underworlds were pure logistics. You were inventory. Today, we project modern religious concepts backward, assuming ancient people were obsessed with moral purity. They weren't. They were obsessed with order. The universe was chaotic, and the afterlife was just another infrastructure project designed to manage the human surplus. If we strip away the modern lens, we see the raw mechanics of ancient death. We are going to look at three massive systems: Mesopotamia, the Maya, and Egypt. You will see exactly how the afterlife evolved from a blind, cold storage unit into a lethal obstacle course, and finally, into a bureaucratic nightmare. By the end of this video, you will understand why the system never cared about your soul. It only cared about the paperwork. Let's start with the oldest system on record, Mesopotamia. Their underworld was known as Irkalla. If you think your life is unfair, Irkalla is the ultimate equalizer. If you were a brutal dictator who slaughtered thousands, you go to Irkalla. If you were a saint who fed orphans, you go to Irkalla. There was no VIP lounge for good behavior. The Mesopotamian gods did not care about your morality. The system was binary. You were either a living biological asset or you were dead. Once you crossed over, you were deposited into a massive, dark cavern beneath the earth. The conditions were identical for everyone. Kings sat next to slaves in pitch blackness. What did they eat? Dust. The Epic of Gilgamesh is very clear on the menu. Their food is dust, and their bread is clay. They wore feathers like birds, and sat in the dark forever. This wasn't a punishment for a life of sin. This was just what happened when your biological machine stopped working. The gods viewed humans as tools to dig canals and harvest grain. When the tool broke, it was thrown in the dark basement. Why did Mesopotamia build such a bleak system? Look at their environment. They lived between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. It was a brutal, unpredictable landscape. Floods wiped out cities without warning. Droughts starved thousands. Their reality was a system that killed indiscriminately. So they engineered an afterlife that processed the dead indiscriminately. The architecture of Irkalla reflects a maximum security storage facility. You passed through 7 gates, and at each gate, you were stripped of your earthly possessions. By the time you reached the bottom, you had nothing. You weren't being judged, you were being processed. The gatekeeper wasn't looking at your permanent record. He was just confiscating your inventory. This is the baseline of the human afterlife. A cold, dark bin for broken tools. No fire, no brimstone, no torture. Just absolute grinding boredom and a diet of dirt. But as human civilizations grew more complex, their underworlds needed to evolve. A storage bin is inefficient. The gods needed a way to actively filter the dead. That brings us across the world to the jungles of Central America, where the Maya took the Mesopotamian darkroom and turned it into a meat grinder. Welcome to Xibalba, the Mayan underworld. If Irkalla was a storage unit, Xibalba was an active filtration system. It translates to place of fright, and it was a literal, physical location you had to navigate. The Maya didn't view the afterlife as a place of rest. They viewed it as a lethal obstacle course. To survive, you had to cross rivers composed entirely of blood and pus. If you made it across, you entered the houses of trials. There was the dark house, the cold house, the jaguar house, the bat house, and the razor house. Inside the razor house, perfectly honed blades moved back and forth, designed to shred you. Again, we see a complete absence of moral judgment. The lords of Xibalba did not throw you into the bat house because you lied to your wife. They threw you in there because that was the standard intake procedure. The gods of death were not judges. They are apex predators playing with their food. The system was designed to destroy the weak and the stupid. It was a brutal meritocracy. Morality was irrelevant. Survival of the fittest didn't end when your heart stopped beating. But here is the critical pivot in the mechanics of the afterlife. Because Xibalba was an obstacle course, it meant it could be beaten. It wasn't just a waiting room like Mesopotamia. It was a game with rules. And if a game has rules, you can hack it. In the Mayan holy book, the Popol Vuh, the hero twins go to Xibalba and actually defeat the Lords of Death. How? Not by being morally pure. They won by being smarter, more cunning, and outright cheating the system. They used magic, trickery, and strategic sacrifice to navigate the lethal traps. This shows a massive shift in human psychology. Death was no longer a total defeat. It was an engineering problem that could be solved with the right tactics. The Maya recognized that the system didn't care about them, so they didn't owe the system any loyalty. You survive the underworld by outsmarting the bureaucrats who run it. You learn the patterns of the razor blades, trick the killer bats, and break the machine. But what happens when the underworld gets too complex to fight physically? You have to out-paperwork the gods. This brings us to ancient Egypt and the Duat. This is where the afterlife received its most significant software patch. Egypt was a highly organized, bureaucratic society. They loved records, taxes, and administration. So, they built an underworld that operated exactly like their government. To navigate the Duat, you didn't need to fight jaguars. You needed the correct documentation. Enter the Book of the Dead. People think this is a religious Bible filled with moral teachings. It absolutely is not. It is a highly specific, technical manual. It is a collection of cheat codes to bypass celestial border security. The Duat was heavily guarded by gatekeepers with hyper-specific names like He Who Eats the Snakes. If you walked up to him without knowing his name, you were destroyed. If you recited the correct password from your scroll, he was legally obligated to let you pass. It was a rigid, code-based system. The Egyptian afterlife was an endless sequence of customs checkpoints. The gods were not omniscient judges reading your soul. They were overworked clerks stamping passports. If your paperwork was in order, you gained access to the field of reeds. The most famous checkpoint is the weighing of the heart. Anubis places your heart on a scale against the feather of truth. If your heart is heavy, Amit the Devourer eats it, and you cease to exist. This looks like a moral trial, but look at the mechanics. During this test, you had to recite the 42 negative confessions. You stood before 42 gods and said things like, "I have not stolen," or "I have not polluted the water." But the Book of the Dead literally provided you with a magical spell to prevent your own heart from betraying you. Spell 30B was carved into a scarab amulet and placed over the dead person's heart. It was a jamming device. It legally bound your heart so it couldn't testify against you. You could be a terrible person, but if you bought the premium amulet and recited the correct legal defense, the system was forced to let you through. It was a loophole. The wealthy could afford the best scrolls and the best amulets, ensuring their safe passage. The system was rigged. It was a pure bureaucratic checklist, hacked by those with the resources. So why do we believe the underworld is about moral punishment today? Because a system that treats everyone the same, or one that can be hacked by the rich, is terrible for social control. As empires expanded, rulers realized they couldn't police everyone effectively. They needed the peasants to police themselves. They took the logistical processing of Mesopotamia, the trials of the Maya, and the bureaucracy of Egypt, and patched in a new core function: ultimate moral consequence. Hell became a tool for the living, not a destination for the dead. The system never cared about your soul. It evolved to control your behavior before you were placed 2 meters under the ground. Stripping away the moral mythology allows us to see history accurately. as a series of evolving administrative frameworks. If you want to beat the algorithm like an Egyptian navigating the Duat, hit the like button. Subscribe for more high-leverage historical analysis that cuts through the noise. Tell me in the comments below, which of these 3 underworld systems would you rather try to hack? See you in the next video.